You've tuned in to chipsgrooveradio with your hosts, Mike and John.
Oh, it's good. We kind of celebrated it early. I mean, our anniversary is on the 2nd, so, and then we had a weird offer. Our daycare was it was like the 9th of February. Like, oh, we'll watch your kids for like $25 for like a date night. Like, okay, well, I guess this is our Valentine's Day, like dinner out or whatever.
How have things been otherwise? It's been a couple of weeks.
Yeah, everything's good. It's snowy today, but otherwise.
Is it?
Yeah.
I heard the East Coast was getting hit a little harder, but
we were supposed to get a lot worse than we did.
Yeah,
thankfully.
Well, that's good.
Yeah,
it actually feels a little bit like spring the last few days here for some reason. It's been kind of nice, but not too cold, not too hot.
Just right.
Just right.
I love those 50-degree days in the middle of winter. They feel like you're just wearing shorts and going out there, and
it's so weird. I was outside cleaning up dog poop today, and I was like, this is wrong. This is February. Whatever.
Yep.
So we got a soundtrack today, sir.
Yeah, we do.
We have Super Mario RPG. And I don't know if you've got any experience with this, or I know you had a Super Nintendo and
I did.
You played a lot of stuff, but yeah.
Yeah, I never. So JRPGs weren't my thing really, growing up.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I guess I never knew that there was a Super Mario RPG for the SNES besides Paper Mario, because that was for SNES as well, right?
Paper Mario was N64.
Oh, okay. Well, then even
this was the impetus to that.
Yeah.
This was like, okay, Mario can do more than just run left to right.
Right.
So.
Yeah, so yeah, it wasn't a game that I really ever knew about, even probably till recently. I know it got re-released on the Switch, but watching playthroughs of it, boy, is it a Square Enix game.
Yep.
The color palette, how dark everything is. It's like, boy, oh boy, this is Final Fantasy with Mario. Mario's jumping.
Mario paint job. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. This was an interesting surprise for us little Nintendo kids, but this was back when, the dark days when Squaresoft was actually just Squaresoft, and now
Squaresoft, yeah.
of course they're Square Enix, but they were rivals with other excellent RPG publishers like Enix and Taito. And I would say for me in the 90s, while other RPGs were excellent, I think Squaresoft was always at the top of the pile for me. I mean, you just can't go wrong with what I call the holy trinity of RPGs for the Super Nintendo, at least of the 16-bit era. I'm going to make that claim. I think it's Final Fantasy VI, Chrono Trigger, and quite possibly Super Mario RPG. They are just solid games, and they were a hell of an adventure. So Squaresoft sits at the top of the pile for me for the Super Nintendo, but I think Nintendo recognized this and actually struck a deal to create a game that Mario would star in.
Yeah.
It was vastly different than his platforming career so far, but it was a collaborative effort between Squaresoft and Nintendo to make something different, but something that wasn't going to anger those hardcore fans, I guess. But I think they succeeded.
Yeah, I mean, watching the gameplay videos, it's so interesting how you would take it. It seems so ridiculous. Like if you think about it from nowadays perspective.
Oh, absolutely.
You take like an IP, like, you take a Final Fantasy, 14, 15, whatever it is right now, 17, 16?
16.
Okay.
No. Yeah, 16. I almost said, wait a minute.
You mesh right? Like that Final Fantasy with like Super Mario Odyssey. The idea of those two things meshing together does not cross my mind, but it did cross their minds in the 90s where why not mash these two things together and see what sticks.
Yeah. And just playing the game was such a brand new experience for me. It was an RPG. It was a JRPG, but it was a little bit more fluid than your typical JRPG.
Mm-hmm.
It was a little faster. They took the camera angle, which, as you know, many RPGs are the static top down. You're roaming around the world or map, and you see like the top of your character's head or whatever. But they moved the camera to more of an isometric angle, kind of like your Diablo games, and they utilize that same technique, and they also used some of the same techniques, I would say, that they used in Donkey Kong Country, where they slapped together this faux 3D look to the sprites to give them more depth and character just beyond the normal sprites. So there was a lot of effort put in to make 8-direction movement look and change and feel natural. It looked a little bit more, I would say, almost clay-like. I know the box art looks a little bit like clay, but this had a 3-dimensional look to your sprites and the world around you, but it really wasn't. So, yeah, my introduction to this game was my buddy Mike, not myself. I know it's confusing, but he called me over to spend the night one night, and he had bought this game, and we just spent the night just kind of absorbing this game and how different it was. It was as interesting as a normal Mario game, but it was an RPG. Yeah. And the characters had dialogue, they had attitudes, some depth, and most of all, they were funny. The game was incredibly charming. Everything felt witty and fun, and nothing really got boring. By the time this game came out, I was extremely familiar with the elements of role-playing games, writing styles, and especially Square's sense of humor. So to see everything I had grown to love about RPGs up to this point really applied to this game, it was a hook for me, and I really enjoyed it.
I was curious about the story because, you mentioned it's being a bit lighter. Like, I know, and I'm not even familiar with how the JRPG stories were in that era, in the SNES era, how in depth they were. I know Secret of Mana, for all its faults, had a pretty in depth storyline. How did the story pan out in Super Mario RPG? Like, what was it in depth? Do you think it was a bit more shallow than the other JRPGs?
It absolutely was a little bit more shallow. It was a little bit more black and white than your typical Final Fantasy or something like that. Even though those are very black and white at times, I think a common denominator with these games are that the world is united through a desperate situation. You know, there's one evil. Most of the time in Japanese RPGs, it's going to be the Empire. Yeah. And they're wreaking havoc on the world and doing all these horrible things to its citizens. And you and your band of friends get together and save the day. Right. And Mario RPG is a little like that, where, Mario and Bowser have their relationship that they've had for at least 10 years at this point. Bowser steals Peach and Mario goes and rescues her. Yeah. So that's how the game starts. But in the middle of your rescue attempt, this giant sword falls from the sky and it crashes into Bowser's Keep. Yeah. And it sends everyone flying in a cartoonish way. Princess Peach falls somewhere else. Bowser gets knocked somewhere and Mario gets knocked somewhere. So the idea is to figure out what this new menace is. It's taken over Bowser's Keep, and it's turns out to be this giant group of evil beings. I think the last guy is called the Smithy. And he just creates these weapons of destruction, and he's taking over your world. And in the act of his sword crashing down to Bowser's Keep, it passed through the star field, and it spread out the 7 stars of Mario's world, and you have to collect them and gain entry to his factory or something, and you have to go kill him. So in that essence, everyone's brought together, and you actually join forces with Bowser.
Okay, I was going to ask.
You can use him as a party member, so that's kind of cool.
That's cool.
It was a relationship we had not seen yet, and it made it very fun.
Yeah.
And you got to be like, oh, hey, I'm the bad guy, and he's helping out, and a force for good this time.
Yeah.
So it was very cool.
Nice.
I do want to say that the developers put an emphasis on a story that was really easy to grasp and fun at the same time. It didn't feel like it was pandering. It was definitely something to bring the masses in rather than some heady stuff.
Yeah.
And besides, it was a Mario game, so what are you going to do?
Right.
I mean,
it can't be too serious.
Can't be too serious. And everything that happened felt like it could actually happen in the universe that we had come to know for Mario.
Mm-hmm.
All the different characters had a presence to them that was identifiable. Truly felt like they lived and belonged there. I found myself actually not caring, but caring more about the enemies in this game because they had personality, they had agency, the boss bad guys, all the way down to the Koopa Troopas and the paratroopers. They had this paratrooper section.
Mm-hmm.
For reference, those are the red ones with wings,
yep.
the Koopa Troopas. And they were this weird amalgamation of this modern day military jet squadron. And he's like giving his crew orders, and you got to jump from paratrooper to paratrooper.
Yeah.
And it was just a small segment, but it was funny, it was cute, and it was enjoyable. All that personality up to and including Mario, it just fit. And one of the big jokes of JRPGs is that silent protagonist.
Yeah.
There are always party members and there's always a story, but a lot of games take the route of having your protagonist not utter a word.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's maybe to try and have the player become immersed and maybe make decisions based on who they are as people. That's just a guess. I don't know why they do it, but in this game, it was utilized to great effect. It really brought the game to life in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
So Mario was silent, but in key moments where he had to explain what was happening to someone else, he would start acting it out.
Yeah.
And he would do all this goofy crap and even shapeshift into different characters to get his point across.
Right.
I don't know. It was weird, but it was funny. So, yeah. The game as a whole is very fun. And how did the soundtrack itself grab you? Were you expecting anything or not expecting anything?
I was expecting the remixes of traditional Mario music. That was for sure. And there was plenty of original music in it that was really interesting too. It's very adventurous. A lot of it has that sense of travel and adventure that you get in those kind of RPG soundscapes. And then some of the remixes were great. It was you travel into the familiar territory of a Mario theme song, but it's a bit more adult, I guess, a bit more full of a song as opposed to the Super Mario theme music or the music in that game. So it was great. It's a great track to have on in the background for sure and listen to because it's very upbeat. A lot of it's very upbeat and fun music to listen to, and then you get those little pangs of nostalgia when you hear some of the Mario music kind of leak through. So yeah, it was pretty great. Like, one of the songs that really this isn't one that was more nostalgic. This was a really interesting song, "Beware of the Forest Mushrooms." I assume that's an area song of some type, where you're like in an area with a bunch of mushrooms. But it really stuck out to me as kind of like a slightly less serious Secret of Mana song. It has that vibe to it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I could see that. Yeah, this is definitely the spooky forest of the game where it's more of a maze than anything else. And anyone who's played Legend of Zelda, they're all about finding your way through the forest maze, and that this is that kind of level typically. And yeah, this is a very enjoyable song. I think it's just got a different, darker, not too dark, but a different feel than a lot of the rest of the album, where it's mostly, and we should say, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, this album is composed by Yoko Shimomura. She is a juggernaut in video game soundtracks. She still is going strong, and anyone listening might recognize other titles she's written for Xenoblade Chronicles, Final Fight, King of Dragons, Kingdom Hearts, and a little thing called Street Fighter 2. So very popular.
Yep.
She's top tier. But yeah, this song it's very fun, very different. It's got a little bit of mystery to it, and it really captures that moment of you're trying to find your way in this forest, and you're following some characters. You need to talk to this person, but you can't catch up to him, and all the bad guys are getting in the way. And then you eventually meet up with him as he confronts the kind of boss of the area. But it's an engaging track. I like it.
I mean, it has that madcap feel to it that a lot of the Secret of Mana tracks had. And like you said, there's a tinge of that that subtle spookiness in this track, but it also has that adventurous flair that you get from a lot of the tracks on this album. Definitely feel like you're going on a journey, trying to make your way through this hidden forest.
The majority of the album, I would say, is upbeat. I mean, it is a Mario game, but there are those moments where it comes down and gets a little more whimsical, maybe whimsical in a spooky way.
Yeah.
They have that real cornball factor when it gets like haunted house music, or even Bowser's Castle. It's very over the top with your organs, and it's just goofy music. But the majority of the album is very engaging, very upbeat. And it's so nice when they kind of change up the pace, do something a little bit different, and this song definitely fits that mold.
Yeah.
But I wanted to ask you, you said you don't have a lot of experience with JRPGs.
Yeah.
What games of the era would you say that you've played that you might have like might have a weird relation to maybe a Squaresoft game? Anything? If not, that's fine.
I don't know. I mean, I definitely played Super Mario 3 back in the day. Cybernator I played a lot of. I can't think of any other SNES game. All the Zeldas. I mean, that's kind of the more action adventure game. But yeah, I definitely played Zelda a lot.
Okay.
Yeah.
And as a tabletop role player, you know the importance of a good critical hit.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, this game, segue, they gave you the power, which made it more accessible, I would say, to basically have every hit be critical. Okay. It was like a timed button press. And it was one of the features of combat that was really immersive, really allowed you to kind of dictate how battles would go.
Yeah.
And I just thought that was a very unique thing for the game of the time. You know, a lot of your RPGs, critical hits are few and far between.
Yeah.
And especially in tabletop role playing, you know, you have to get that die roll perfect.
You roll that 20. Yep.
You got to roll that 20. But here, if you kind of practiced and you've figured out when in each animation for each character to hit the button again, you could give it a little bit of a boost. And that was kind of cool.
That's neat.
You could do it with just about everything. And I think it was one of the attempts to make it more accessible to people who aren't familiar with RPGs, and even those who are familiar kind of have a little bit more fun with it.
Yeah, that makes it's interesting because that mechanic has been co-opted by a lot of different games. Like you think of like some games have reloading animations where they have the bar go across, and you have to, if you hit the reload at the exact right time, it reloads faster.
Gears of War.
I think Gears of War is that one way. But yeah, there's other games that have that like skill factor to getting a boost. So it's interesting. Game of that long ago, kind of was the genesis, probably one of the genesis of that style of gameplay.
Yeah, and they didn't give you any bars. You really had to just figure it out.
Yeah.
So you could do it with spells, you could do it with abilities, and then you could do it with regular attacks. So it was interesting. It was something that I found myself playing with, trying to pinpoint the exact pixel in which to hit the button. So that was just another element. My buddy Ethan, I probably can't get out of the battle segment of this podcast without mentioning, he wanted me to say that hearing the battle music so often as you do in this game, because there are a lot of enemies, it definitely has affected the youth of America to the point of going insane.
Yeah.
Because it was just playing over and over for him, and he said it was a little too much for him. He wanted to make sure I pointed out just how much this song played. So,
which song was it?
It's the regular battle one, so it would be Fight Against Monsters.
Okay. It's interesting that they only have like one battle track. There's so many songs in this track, and they only have like one battle track.
Songs. Yeah. The Fight Against Monsters is your standard everyday battle song, and it's groovy, it's fun, but yeah, it does wear on you after the 300th time you've heard it.
I can imagine.
But that's okay, whatever. One other feature I guess I should mention is you can pick and choose your battles. You're not always required. I mean, if you want to level up and do well, you want to get plenty of monsters, but they are very much visible on the map at all times, and you can run into them or skip them. So that is your option. But Ethan would very much like me to mention just how nuts you get after hearing that so many times.
It is a very simplistic song, and it's very repetitive. So it's not exactly the most fun song to listen to over and over and over again.
No. Yeah. Definitely gets the point across real quick. One thing I wanted to mention about the soundtrack is Shimomura, she takes over the soundtrack and she develops this extremely iconic sound for Mario, I think, that is still present to this day. The usage of whistles and wood instruments at times, I think, stems from Super Mario, or Super Mario World primarily, but also Yoshi's Island. Those are obviously two other Super Nintendo games.
Yep.
They had really set what Mario games would sound like moving forward, with really playful, colorful, and engaging melodies. So Shimomura only continued this with her own style. She gave it a little bit of a twist here and there. She added a lot of, I want to say, orchestral elements to her songs, where it became more fleshed out than your typical Mario game. Her usage of certain instruments really is stuff that we hear today,
right?
Especially for Mario is my point.
Yeah.
I think Super Nintendo as a whole really kind of determined what Mario was going to sound like. And I know people can say, well, the regular Nintendo soundtracks definitely had a lot to do with that too. But I think it really, with the expansion of the sound chip, they were allowed to do a lot more stuff because they were using samples of actual instruments.
Right.
And Koji Kondo, the composer for the originals and most of the games still, he developed a unique sound for the Mario universe. And I just think that Shimomura did a good job stepping in and evolving that, kind of expanding on it and making sure that it still sounded like Mario.
Right.
So she did a really good job. It's just a fun and exciting listen. It's bright and active.
Right. Yeah, no.
There aren't that many songs I want to draw attention to. In fact, the only one I'll mention right now is Happy Adventure, Delightful Adventure. And it's the opening track.
Right.
And it's just a blast. It plays during the opening salvo video that shows the journey, shows the excitement you're in for. The tempo of the song with that xylophone melody is extremely engaging. Like the game itself, it's a bit frantic, it's a bit goofy, and all the instruments come out to really envelop the listener with this joyous tune and really capture the tone of the game in one fell swoop.
Yeah.
She does a great job here of just getting to the point and getting this rush of images we're seeing on screen, all these changes of locations. We're seeing Mario and his party just kicking the crap out of bad guys and going on these wacky adventures together. And the song is playing over top, and it's just a thrill to listen to even without the video. So
yeah, it honestly reminds me. It sounds like a Mario Kart sound track. It's so upbeat. The whistles and all that. It's a great upbeat intro to a game that is about adventure and excitement, but it also is whimsical and a bit more silly than what you are, you might expect from a SquareSoft game.
Right. And then right at the end, she kind of brings in the darkness a little bit for a measure or so, just to give you a hint as to the dangers in this world. Yeah. So I just thought it was such a fun song. You really can't not tap your toe to it or something corny like that, but it's just a fun song to listen to, and I couldn't not mention it. So that's probably one of two songs I'll mention. The only other song I want to mention right now is Rose Town. It is just a town theme that really has a jazzy swing feel to it that I really, really took to. It has stuck with me. It randomly pops in my head anytime. I don't know why, but it's just an enjoyable tune. And I loved it as a kid. And it's one of those songs that has really just stuck in my memory when I think about this game. And I think it's because it's so different. Mm-hmm. It's got such a different feel to it for me. That jazzy swing feel to it is it feels different than the rest of the album. And I don't know that that's accurate, but listening to it now, it's got a nice groove to it. Yeah. It's enjoyable as all hell to listen to while you're roaming around town and talking to people. I just get a blast every time this comes on.
Yeah, it's a really pleasant jazz tune that lets you kind of kick back and hang out in town and just not worry too much about the outside world. It's a fun little track.
Yeah.
The only other ones that I wanted to bring up myself were the ones that did use original or were kind of remixes of the original Mario Brothers, and they're the same remix. It's the Axum Rangers Drop In and Hello from the Pipe. Yeah. Man, Axum Rangers Drop In is just a funky song, and I love it. I always loved the underground theme from the original Super Mario Brothers. And this just takes it to 11, and it's great. It's a really short song. Hell from the Pipe is also a short song. They both use the same theme, and it's a fun remix, and to be able to they remix that song twice in the game.
Yeah. The Axum Rangers is a very, very funny and enjoyable section of the game. They were obviously playing on the popularity of Power Rangers.
Yeah.
So you've got these, I think five or six weird ass creatures. I don't know. They all have axes, of course, but they're colored after the Power Rangers of television fame.
Yeah.
And these guys just come in out of nowhere and try to foil your adventure here. So it's funny. They have their own little airship thing that they kind of drop out of the sky with. It's a weird section of the game, but really enjoyable.
That's funny.
It was a funny section, and I very much enjoyed it because when this came out, Power Rangers were at the peak of their popularity. I think it was 96 or something.
Yeah.
So it was a nice out of left field, even for this game, moment in the game where anything could happen. And these guys aren't referenced any time before this and then after. It's just like, what the fuck is going on?
I'm sad.
At least not that I remember.
I want to see some Axum Rangers in Melee or something.
You know what? I wouldn't be surprised if they did that sometime.
Yeah.
They're running out of people they can.
I know, seriously.
Smash Bros. It's like, Jesus. They're bringing in Solid Snake, Mega Man. I don't know what they're doing.
Yeah,
but
crazy.
I think they even brought in Sephiroth from Final Fantasy VII and Cloud.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Axum Rangers could be very useful in that game. So, I mean, I don't have much else to say about this game. I didn't want to go over so many songs that people got overwhelmed, but I think the overall gist of this soundtrack is just fun adventure. And I think Shimomura does a great job. She manages to capture Mario's universe in the first really expansive look at his universe. She brought Koji Kondo's themes, his stylings to this world and really expanded on them in a way that's very enjoyable, very punchy, very engaging. And yeah, I think she put her stamp on the Mario universe. People look back on this soundtrack often with fond memories, and there's good reason for that. She knocked it out of the park. The only other mention I'll give to this album is Koji Kondo himself. Obviously, he wrote the tunes that she remastered and remixed. And then Nobuo Uematsu, the famed composer from Final Fantasy, a couple of his tracks were brought to this game as well, because there is a secret monster, Culex, I believe his name was. But you fight him to the super boss theme from Final Fantasy IV. That's cool. Which is a good time.
Nice little nod.
Nice little nod to the origins of Super Mario RPG. But yeah, I'm gonna give this a 10 out of 10 for my nostalgia. I am very, very rose-tinted glasses right now. 10 out of 10 mushrooms for Super Mario RPG Legend of the Seven Stars.
Yeah, I would have to agree that the track, you can listen to the Mario Brothers soundtrack a couple of times and just for nostalgia reasons, and sure, it's fine, it's great, it's there. You could listen to the Super Mario RPG soundtrack and it's as a soundtrack and as just like a thing to listen to, because it is so fun and light, and it would be great, background music and just to hang out music, because it's a step above a lot of the SNES music of the time. So yeah, I would agree with that. I think for me, it's also a 10 out of 10. I mean, there's nothing really wrong with any of the track, and everything was fun and airy, and yeah, it didn't slow down at all. So yeah, it was great.
Awesome.
10 out of 10 Koopas that you jump on their heads, and then you get the one up at the end.
Then you get the one up. You lock them on the staircase, so you... God, that was the hardest thing to pull off on the first Mario. There was not a glitch, but you could time it just right to where you would go to the steps towards the end of the level and just knock this shell back and forth You jump on it,
Yeah.
and you would never touch the ground, which is how you get the one-ups or whatever. You could just do it hundreds of times. My brother did it. I was like, what the fuck is happening? I was never able to do that.
Shit in that game.
So funny. But yeah, that's the soundtrack. Yoko Shimomura. Check her out. She is still going strong, and you can get some of her soundtracks, I believe, on iTunes.
Ooh.
I'm talking out of my ass right now because I don't know, but I would be surprised.
I bet you can definitely get the RPG soundtrack, right? Because Nintendo is really, they're really opened up to providing music to their fans, right?
Oh, absolutely they are. They're not
Don't sue us.
gatekeeping that at all. Okay, so yeah, she has several things on here, especially Kingdom Hearts. You cannot go wrong with Kingdom Hearts. I know everyone loses their mind over that. That series. I've never played it.
I haven't played it.
I'm sure it's good, but so check her out. She did phenomenal, and she continues to do phenomenal. So yeah, John, if you would like to say goodbye to the dear audience, please do so.
See ya at the other end of the pipe, my friends.
Thank you for listening to today's episode. If you liked what you heard, please rate and subscribe on your podcast app of choice. Also, check out Magus Media's other podcast, This Is Not Happening, Another X-Files podcast for complete episode breakdowns, insightful banter, and inane babble. Thank you, and we'll see you next time.
Well, hello there, Internet people. My name is Josh, and I am one of the hosts of the Nastagram RPG podcast. We're an actual play podcast, and we're good. And why are we good? Well, let's let the other host tell you. Dan.
Hey everyone, if you like authentic, real-world sound effects, our lasers go pew-pew.
I love it. Matt.
Skip me. Coming back to Matt.
Ryan.
Okay, so after 2 decades of trying, we finally mastered the 3.5 grapple.
We're not doing that.
We certainly did. Never mind.
Try again.
Scratch that.
Check it out. Look it up.
Cut. John.
If you're looking for a RPG podcast that plays a whole hell of a lot of games, we like to spice the life.
Spice it up.
Spice it up.
Matt, you ready?
Yeah, I think I'm ready. If you enjoy bad accents and overacting, you'll enjoy our podcast.
Yes.
Nice.
Yes.
And Jake, bring us home.
I like to just say we didn't just throw a phone on the table and hit record. Like, Josh does a damn good job with the editing. And
Facts.
if you care about that, you will not be disappointed.
That's right. We spent a bunch of money that we don't make on the podcast.
100%.
So check us out, Nastagram RPG Podcast. You can find us on all the goddamn podcast apps, and we'll see you there.
That's nasty.